doing it. You supposed to be happy you sitting there with Kid L. Why you mad?
The Kid L Podcast.
Rocking and rolling, the legendary Coco, the comedian, is in the building. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I've been trying to get to you. Let me tell you something. I have never chased a man like this. Okay, take that back. Nope, that's not true. I have never chased a man like this for something non-sexual. Nope, take that back. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that sounds like the same way I feel about you without the sexual part. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Only because I have a girlfriend. Otherwise, other things would be happening right now.
Listen, I like that.
I want to talk to you about the fact that every comedian that's ever come on my podcast has mentioned you, has put you on a pedestal, has said so many great things about your history, what you've done for the comedy scene in Detroit and Michigan and nationwide as well. Everybody's obsessed with talking about you, and Kool-Aid as well. It's like you guys really created a stamp for what's going on in Detroit comedy, and just giving hope to everybody that's upcoming right now. Now I want to get.
I gotta take my glasses off for that because that's kind of emotional. Okay.
That's beautiful.
Okay, I'm here. I'm right here.
Nick, can we cut that fan real quick? Before we start, I gotta tell you guys about the hottest wing spot in Detroit, Mighty Wing Shop. Last weekend, I ordered a pound of wings and an incredible order of chicken and waffles. Guys, it's beyond this world. They also serve breakfast, pita wraps, quesadillas, and more. Located at 20131 Greenfield, Detroit. Go check out the Mighty Wing Shop. Now, you've done a lot of great things. You've been on HBO, Def Comedy Jam. Detroit has its own Comedy Jam right now. You shared the stage with Steve Harvey. You know what I'm saying? You've done just so many.
Everybody,
right?
Everybody.
Kings of comedy, right?
Mike Epps, Bernie Mac. Rest in peace to Bernie Mac. Oh my gosh, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, Aretha Franklin. I mean, I have done a lot.
Yes.
And I don't think about it because sometimes we get stuck thinking about what we've done as opposed to thinking about what more can we do.
Right.
Because if you said, oh, I've done this and I've done this, and then you get comfortable in that space. But I feel like if it's your gift and your passion, then you could always do more. And you could always add something to that. Or you could take something that you've done and tweak it and make it something that you can do again.
Right.
It's like a recipe. So if you cook great pasta and then you say, okay, you know what? I'm changing my eating habits, so I want to know how to make veggie pasta. So you use the same concept, but you take what you learned and add to that. I think that's how life should be. You should always want to be better the next day or the next minute or the next opportunity than you were the day before, the minute before, whatever. I know it sounds real profound, but that's just how I see it.
No, it's beautiful. And, you know, your bubbly personality and the way you put out shows that you enjoyed the entire process as well.
Thank you.
Right? Every time I look at anything you've accomplished, it's always like you're happy. You're really involved in it and you love what you're doing.
I do.
It wasn't like comedy was never a backup plan for you, was it?
So, okay, so we gonna go all the way back.
Let's go to day zero. Let's start with day zero.
Day zero. I've always known that my life would be very non-traditional. And I really didn't know what it looked like. And I used to say, by the time I'm 30, I'm gonna be retired, if not semi-retired. But because words are seeds, and every time you say something, it goes into the soil. Because the earth is the soil and it's always fertile. So whatever you say, those seeds fall into a fertile soil. So I always say I'll be retired, if not semi-retired. That's what I want to do. So when I got into comedy, it was related to a tragedy in my life. So my sister passed in February of 91. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, and none of that stuff. She had a stress-related stroke, and shortly thereafter, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, she passed. So I was at the point where I was gonna lose it. This was my sister. She was all of that stuff, and we had that kind of relationship. Now it's me, my mother, and my sister had 3 children. So it's like, okay, what am I gonna do? So my girlfriend called me, and her and her uncle were managing a bar downtown called Scruples. And she said, hey, we managing this bar, and this is what we doing, and they do a comedy night. Now my friends knew I had a sense of humor because I used to get them in trouble all the time. In school, on the job, because I was a nurse, I always got everybody around me in trouble because I always had something to say, and then I could turn the poker face on, and while they laughing, I'm just looking like, what's wrong with y'all? So I went down. I was dating a guy, and we went shopping and got him an outfit because he dressed a little, I don't want to say non-traditional, but clothes were not on his, they didn't care about clothes. So we went shopping, got the outfit. It was around the 1st of April, maybe, April Fool's Day, maybe. And I went down there, and I really didn't have an idea about what I was going to talk about, but I always loved comedy. Like, I would beg my mother, please let me stay up and watch Carol Burnett. And she like, you got to go to bed. I'm like, let me stay up and watch Carol Burnett. So I always liked comedy because it seemed very safe. The other part, the part two to that is I sing. So singing has always been my passion. I sang in middle school and I sang in high school, and when I got out of high school, for a minute I had a band and I sang with a band. So that was my thing. But comedy, and this is so crazy, comedy is just, it was me, the microphone, and the people.
Yeah.
When I went on stage the first time, I talked about stuff that related to women, and I got a few laughs, but I was like, I'm addicted. I got to do this again. My family was like, why don't you sing? I'm like, I don't want to sing. And singing is much more. So here's the crazy part. I'm going to throw that over there.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the crazy part. Singing is, when you're on stage singing, you got musicians, you could talk, you could have all the dialogue you want to have, and you got buffers. When you're a comedian, there are no buffers. It's you, microphone, a stool, a drink or whatever, bottle of water, and the audience. So it's nobody to turn to. It's just you. And it was something in me that wanted that aloneness on stage. And I was kind of a loner growing up, even though I had friends, but I enjoyed being myself.
Yeah.
So I did the thing. I talked to some of my buddies. I had a friend that was a singer and a musician and all of that. And he was like, well, let me help you develop a set. I said, okay. So we worked on some stuff. And that was April of 91. So here we are in May of 2024. And I got 33 years in.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
You weren't even a
I was
blip.
I was born in 91.
Oh, so you were a baby.
I was just born.
Yeah, so you was just warm. You was just like this.
I would have pulled up to the show, but I didn't have the
I know. You weren't old enough to be there.
Yeah.
But I like comedy. No, I love comedy.
When you're talking about your own personal, you're talking about being a loner, but you had friends and everything like that, but you like your own alone time and things like that. And you're talking about your own inner nature and everything like that. How, what developed you to that point? If we can talk about your upbringing a little bit.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Talk about, are you from?
Yep. I grew up in Highland Park.
Okay.
I learned to be alone because of my personal tragedies. And they were. I was molested. First time I was molested, I was 4. And then it happened a few other times. So it created a space for me to go into who I was. So you don't understand it, and you're trying to figure it out, and you ask yourself, okay, why did this happen? And the thing that we don't address when we talk about children and sexual assault and all those things is, as a child, your body is now introduced to a feeling and a sensation that you cannot control.
Right.
So it's sort of like if you take a kid that has never eaten candy or never had any sweets or whatever, and you sneak and you give it to them, that child will now look for that person who gave them something that they shouldn't have. So although I was molested, when that person would still come around, it was something about that person that, as crazy as this gonna sound, I wanted to be around them because of that feeling. And then as I got older, I'm like, this is not this is not right. It's crazy. So it happened. It was another person, but it happened again. So now I'm asking, what is it about me? Because you always ask yourself, what is it about me that now I am a victim?
Right.
And it kind of made me, I was a social butterfly, but then I was an introvert. And believe it or not, I know y'all not going to believe this. I'm looking at all the cameras. I am kind of shy. I know it's hard to believe, but I am kind of shy. So it allowed me to be by myself. So it was nothing for me to go to dinner by myself or go to a movie by myself. I could stay at home the whole weekend if I didn't have anything to do, in my house, reading a book, watching TV, and all of those things, because I got to be okay with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm okay with me. Yeah. And then my trust for people was kind of, I'm going to be honest, it wasn't even, I won't say it was shattered, it was destroyed.
Wow.
So I'm in an environment where I'm nice and I'm accepting, but my trust for people was always kind of jaded. Like, okay, when are you going to do something inappropriate?
Right.
Or when you going to say something inappropriate? And then I grew up, I've always been a big person. So that was a whole nother door for people to just feel like they could say anything to me. And they couldn't. And by the time they said, I let them get away. Like one time, I'm like, okay, you said that. Okay, next time, I'm in that ass. So they would say something, and I was in that ass. Yeah. Verbally. And people, if somebody get beat up, you can say, oh, they got beat up, but it was this. But when somebody says something to you that decreases you to a dot, everybody's going to remember that.
Yeah.
So that was my defense mechanism. I got bullied. I got tired of fighting. So I said, you know what? I'm kind of smooth with this mouthpiece. So kids would say stuff to me, and I would say something that would, and I knew it would just shatter them to the core, but I didn't want to fight you anymore. Because it was like the girls would start to fight, and then I would have to fight boys because I was taller and bigger than everybody else. I'm like, nah, this mouth game, I'm going to get you. I'm going to say something that's going to hurt you because I know you can't read, and I'm going to say that. Or I know whatever it was, I knew it. And I'm like, keep on. Okay, you got one more. Oh, that's what you going to do? Okay. And I would say something, and they like, oh, and they want to fight me. And so I knew that what I said had really got to them.
Yeah.
And I was real witty. I'm still witty. So I would see something, and me and my friends would be hanging out, and I would say something like, don't that lady look like so-and-so? And my friends would bust out laughing, and I would keep walking like I hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
So it made me tough. It made me a loner. I've grown out of that. A lot of therapy, a lot of counseling. I am a staunch advocate for getting therapy and counseling men, women, young, old. Talk to somebody. Lay on somebody's couch.
Yeah.
And talk to somebody.
A lot of comedians talk about that. Growing up, if they feel isolated or bullied or ostracized or in any type of way, comedy somehow becomes an outlet for them. Mm-hmm. And it follows you, right? And you're able to use it if you really start pushing it. You can use it to express yourself and express your true inner nature and what's really going on within you to the world if you really want to. And that's what you did.
Yes.
And unfortunately to hear that, it's like really sad to hear that. The way you just explained being abused by somebody growing up, I'm sure was it somebody close? Because when you say trust, it's like
it was a very close. It was a female friend of the family who was around my family quite a bit. So you don't know what to say when you come to a parent, and I've worked with young people that have had similar experiences, and when you tell your family, excuse me, this person is touching me. Well, what happened? What did they do? And because you're having a conversation as a child with an adult, they're at you because they want you to give them everything. Well, what did you do? How did it happen? And I think sometimes parents don't understand that sometimes you just have to be a little more relaxed and let that child verbalize what happened. Because I don't think I had that conversation with anybody until I was much older.
Right.
Like I was 4 when it first happened. So I don't think I had the conversation
That's ridiculous.
till I was like in my 30s maybe.
And I noticed too when I talk to a lot of friends that I've talked to that have been through similar experiences that sometimes it's hard to vocalize about it because it can disrupt or hurt the family relations or the friendships and all that stuff.
It does.
If you have like a brother or an uncle or somebody that does it, sometimes the family will be like, well, what are we going to do? Like, keep it to yourself because you're going to destroy the family if you talk about this.
And that's the part that is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because it's a person that, for whatever reason, everybody loves them, but they have done such a heinous act, and the family's torn for like, well, do we put them out? What do we do? And a lot of instances, they wind up protecting that person.
Yeah.
So you go over to the house on the holidays, and they're like, oh, well, just don't go in the basement and leave him alone. He's okay. And I'm like, so you want us to come to your house to celebrate for the holidays, and you want us to bring our children, but this demon is in the basement, and you want us to act like they're not in the basement, and so now you don't want us to say anything, but our children want to go down there because they don't know.
Right.
How about I just stay my ass at home? How about I don't come over?
Yeah.
So we as a society have to do better.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, and I think about Maya Angelou when she wrote the book I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She was assaulted and had the conversation, and the person that assaulted her was killed.
Wow.
And she felt like her words killed him. So she went years and didn't talk. And as the story went, she was a caged bird, and she said she know why the caged bird sings. So you figure out, if I tell, how is this going to destroy my family?
Yeah.
And that should not be a thought that a child has. That shouldn't even. I should think as a child that these people are going to protect me, because they say, tell me everything, have a conversation with me. So why am I now processing, if you're a little older, for the children that are a little older, why am I processing about what this is going to do to my family? I don't give a damn. What has it done to me?
Yeah.
How has it affected me, and how will it affect me going into life and dating and relationships and all of those things? Because at some point it comes back. And you like, and I've told guys, I'll be like, it's certain things you can't say to me if we're intimate. And I had an incident, and I told a guy, and then sometimes you get into an altercation or argument or disagreement, and they said, like one guy told him what had happened, and he said, oh, I know why such and such happened to you when you was a child. Okay, I think you need to leave before the coroner and the police outside. I just think you need to leave.
No.
I don't know which truck gonna get here first, but this is gonna be the situation.
Yeah.
And then the other part is, if you are attracted to somebody and you want to be intimate and you explain that to them, now they don't know how to touch you, because they like, can I touch you here and there, whatever. So it's a real interesting space, and you just have to be mindful of, do I tell this person, or do I not tell this person? Or when I tell them, what they going to do with the information, or how am I going to feel? And I did have a guy, and I totally blacked out. When I tell you, I told him, it's certain things you can't do to me. And I guess in the moment of passion, he did one of those things, and I flipped all the way out.
Yeah.
I flipped out. And when I came to myself, he was literally like laying on the floor, like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm panicking. I'm like, what did I do? He said, you flipped. I said, but what did I do? He said, you just started hitting me and kicking me and all of that. I said, but what did you do? He said, I held your shoulders down and you couldn't move. I said, well, that's why I almost killed you. And I'm looking, he said, if it had been a little closer, I would have hit my head on the nightstand. Well, you did something I told you not to do. And I guess, he said it was in the moment. I said, no, it's not in the moment. That's not a moment. You intentionally did that. And that's why, I flipped out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting space when you had a conversation. and it changes the temperature in the room. But I think as adults, we need to talk about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
And it's becoming more relevant now. I mean, it's crazy that somebody can, affect your life from at that point of your life. You're 4 years old, and now forever your life has changed.
Yes.
Even with me, like I mean, guys don't like to talk about it. I got like abused by a girl when I was growing up. Like I was 12, but guys are always like, "Oh, it was a girl. Who gives a fuck?" But the thing is,
oh no, we care.
What happened to me was, it felt great at the time, and it was this whole crazy thing. But now my brain is fucked when it comes to sex. Like I was like all about sex for so long,
Absolutely.
until one day I realized I was like, yo, this all stems back from that, 1,000%. And I don't even want to be this sexually driven. Like I hate how sexually driven I am, and it all stemmed from that. It made me a freaky motherfucker. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it does.
I turned into a freak, son.
But you weren't ready to be a freak.
I was never ready to be a freak.
Yeah.
Even sometimes when people talk to me and I tell them how freaky I am, they're like, "You don't seem like a freak." I'm like, "No, I'm a freak, son."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It after a while, you start going, "Man, I'm kind of sick of my freakiness. Like, I don't even want to be thinking the thoughts I'm thinking." But it all goes back to that day that she took my pants off and was like, "What's going on down there?"
Yep. And she probably was 17, 18, 19 years old.
She was like 17, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it's funny because a lot of men see that experience as a rites of passage. Like, okay, you 11, 12, 10, and this older woman in the neighborhood probably was beautiful, attractive.
No, she was ugly as hell, but yeah.
Oh, that's...
I'm sorry, yeah, she was really ugly. She was so ugly that she looked like John Goodman. It was wild.
I'm finna go.
I'm sorry. Can you face that? Can you turn that mic towards you a little bit?
Yes, I got to turn the mic towards
Yeah, a little bit, like, can you actually pull it in the face, like the
right here,
the microphone towards you? Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
okay,
perfect.
So it's not a rites of passage,
right?
And it opened a portal for you. So now you're looking at other women to do the same thing that she did.
Facts.
And it twists. It's twisted because I've heard men say, "Oh yeah, first time I had sex, I was 15 and she was 34." I said, "No, you were sexually assaulted." "No, I wasn't." I said, "Think about it." I said, if your daughter was 15 and she told you that she had had sex with a 34-year-old man, you would be out like John Wick or somebody. Your whole life mission would be to find this person and do away with him. I say it's no different than when it's a young man. It's not a rites of passage. Yeah. It's nothing cute about it, but sadly the perpetrator doesn't know what they're doing to the young man's life, and the young man is now messed up, and it does make you hypersexualized because you 12, 13 years old and you already advanced at stuff that you want to do. You saying stuff like, and people like, that's not 12-year-old. You supposed to be into this boobs or whatever, or looking at the magazines. You really talking about throwing somebody back out. That's not normal, but we don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. And when these are things that are happening to you and unfortunately, it's crazy for comics because this is unfortunately building material for you now, right?
Yeah.
And the time that you didn't even understand it, this is something that in the future you're going to be able to express to people in ways without being totally direct, but still getting all of that out of you. So as you're growing up and you're unfortunately going through this, and you're obviously at school too. Not only at school, you're dealing with all this bullying and all this stuff.
I'm dealing with all of it.
You're learning how to combat it with humor and with sharpness and just being straight up cutting into people, basically.
Yeah.
And as you're growing up, what's your direction at that point? Are you thinking about a direction? Are you thinking about where am I going? Or like, what was your mindset at that point?
A lot of times my mindset was, I was like a dog behind a fence. The dog is okay. Like you walk by the fence and you see the dog 100 times. And the dog, you're like, oh, the dog is cool, whatever. But one day you walk by that fence and you stick a stick in the fence and the dog literally comes over the fence at that ass.
Yeah.
So that's who I became, and I knew it. Like I knew who I was, and I guess people around me, it was so intense that I was so good at dealing with it that people never saw that. And then once the animal came out, they're like, hey, wait a minute, hold on. No, because I've asked you. Usually I would say, hey, okay, that's cool, that's fine, or you might not want to say that or do that. But people don't, because people don't see the immediate repercussions, they keep poking the bear. And then when the bear come out, they want to put the bear back in. No, you can't just throw the bear back in the cage.
Right.
You got to let the bear run its course. So that's the person that I became. Real witty, sarcastic, but not in a nasty way. I was really sarcastic to people that push the buttons. But then I was really smart, really intelligent. I was a nerd. I used to read a lot. I won spelling bees, and I was really articulate. So I could go in any environment and function. So you could put me over here with whoever, I'm good over there. Okay, you put me over here, I'm good over there. So it was never not a situation when I wasn't good. So you could put me in here in a corporate setting, I was good in a corporate setting. Put me in this setting, I'm good. I'm good over here dealing with the sex workers and whatever the case may be. So I was able to just move about freely because I had good relationships and I was always nice to people.
Yeah.
Nobody was ever, and the people that may tell you now, oh, she wasn't nice to me, ask them what did they do? Because I was never a mean person. So when people say, oh, I knew you in high school and you were mean to me, and I'm always like, what did you do?
Yeah.
What did you say? I said so and so. Okay, that's why. I wasn't just out the gate just a mean person, but you poke some buttons, you push some buttons.
Yeah.
So I'm still that way. I'm still able to go into different settings and different environments and interact with different people. So that comes from a lot of stuff. I always want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And if it's something in the community, I want to be a part of the community. So I've learned to work with people that were victims of sexual assault and people that are dealing with substance use, recovery, and all those things, because everybody needs a second chance and everybody needs a hug.
Yeah.
And everybody needs somebody to look at them and to not judge them for their actions. Except the people that you like, no, you did some messed up stuff. But we need somebody just to look at us and say, you know what? I care about you.
Right.
I don't know you, but I know as much as I think that I'm not like you, because we always say, oh, I'm nothing like them. But you are. You just took a different path. But if you had went down the street at the same time they went down the street, then y'all lives would have ran parallel.
Right. My favorite saying about that is there's no good people or bad people. It's people, everybody's just fluctuating between the two.
Yep.
And so with your being able to have this wittiness and the sharpness and being able to blend into any different type of environment.
Got me in a lot of trouble.
Who? Oh,
me?
you?
Oh, baby.
What was happening?
Everything. I was hanging out with the guys that sold drugs and the guys that did all kind of stuff. I was there. I was fascinated with the guys that were moving fast and the women. I just wanted to be there in it. So I wanted to shoot dice. I did. I wanted to shoot dice. You know, men will tell you they don't like to shoot dice with women because women are kind of lucky. But I wanted to shoot dice. You know, I wanted to know, okay, how you do this? Okay, that's what's up. Oh, this is going on. And I was always okay. I remember I had a buddy who was, he was doing everything. He was the street pharmaceutical salesperson and everything. And he had a girlfriend. And I knew his girlfriend didn't like me. But he and I were just platonic friends, really good friends. And one day she said, she was real nasty. How come every time I'm around you, this fat bitch around you? He said, that's my friend. He was like, well, I don't like her. And every time I'm around you, I don't appreciate her being around you. He said, well, if you don't like her, then you don't like me because that's my girl. Mm-hmm. And she ain't going nowhere. And I'm like, and I'm there. I'm like, no, I'll leave. He said, no, she got to leave. I'm like, ooh. She's like, I knew you was sleeping with her. And it got ugly. And I sort of got my keys and kind of tiptoed out because I didn't want that situation, but I knew how she felt about me. And a lot of people don't understand that a man and a woman could be platonic friends and nothing has ever happened.
Facts.
So, but he was mad with her and I'm leaving. I sort of tipped out, got in my car and left. And then later on, he beat me. That's when we had beepers. And I called him back. He was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." He said, "That was some ugly stuff she said." I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "She really like you." He said, "No, because if she can't get along with you, she can't get along with nobody." I said, "But she might not." And here I go, because I'm the therapist, right? I'm thinking I'm a therapist. I said, "Well, maybe she's never been around a man and woman who had a platonic relationship." He said, "No." He said, "Because if she feel like that," I said, "she gonna tell the police what you doing."
Oh.
I mean, because it was something about her. I always felt like she had an angle.
Damn.
I did. It was something like, and
Did she end up fucking?
well, he moved away kind of quick.
Okay.
He had to leave, and it was just something about her that didn't sit well.
Let's cut down the
with
brass
me.
tacks. All right. Did he ever try to hit?
Never.
All right.
I was literally like,
Look, like
big sister.
I have a platonic friend that I slept with one time. All right, but listen. But here's the thing about it, though. We slept together. Realized that, like, no, we should just be friends.
Right.
Completely.
Right.
And we never had any sexual anything towards each other ever again.
Okay.
And I have a girlfriend now, and I'm still friends with her. But
Okay.
like, my girlfriend was always like, "I don't know about that," but I'm like, "No, trust me. Like, trust me. Like, it was a one-time damn thing, son. Like, it was once we made a mistake." But I love her being in my life. Like, she's a great friend,
Right.
and we don't like sit and hang out or go out or do things together. But
Right.
we talk on the phone. We'll
Right.
catch up on each other's lives. But it's hard for men. It's hard for men, and it's hard for women too. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
sex can always randomly pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it makes it awkward, and once you do it, you can't undo it.
Yeah, but you know what was crazy about me and her having sex? We had sex. Then 2 years later, we were talking on the phone, and she was like, "I'd love to meet your girl." You know, the girl that I slept with that one time. She's like, "I'd love to meet your girlfriend," and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I was
Okay.
like, "Let's set up the whole thing." And then the day came, and she was like, "Hey, didn't we have sex like 2 years ago?" I was like, "Oh shit, we did have sex 2 years ago. We can't go out to dinner with my girlfriend." That'd
But
be
you
crazy."
can. You can.
I don't know.
You
son.
wasn't sure. You didn't. You wasn't sure of how awkward it would be.
It was more of so like if my girlfriend did that to me, like if she was like, "Hey, I want you to meet my guy friend," and then I figured out they had sex one time, I'd be like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
wait a minute, I
Yeah.
don't want to meet this
Yeah.
motherfucker." But life, that's why I always, everybody always has so many philosophies about life. They're so concrete about their thoughts and their beliefs. But really lately, I've been seeing life as like a million different dimensions of how
Yeah.
you can handle life. Like there isn't just one concrete way. Unfortunately, because you're dealing with so many other personalities, it seems that you have to be concrete about certain decisions that you make in life, especially when you have a partner. When you have a partner, the dynamics of how you handle your life change completely. And so it's harder for people to deal with platonic friendships. Everybody always tries to sneak in one chance or whatever the fucking the case may be.
It makes. I've had that. I have friends that I am platonic friends with now, and we had some type of intimate exchange, right? And it's funny because I see them now and they're very uncomfortable. And I recently saw him. We had an intimate exchange. I like that word. And I recently saw him and his current girlfriend, and he was so uncomfortable. Like his girlfriend was like, "Oh my goodness, Coco, I love you." And I saw a picture of you and him together. And I was like, "I got to meet her. And I get a chance to meet you. Oh my goodness, can we take pictures?" And we took pictures. And I looked at him and he was sweating so hard. And he was just awkward. And I'm looking at him like, I'm not going to say nothing. So we took a picture. Me and her took a picture. And then she said, "Take this picture. Oh, I love her." And later on, he texted me like, "Thank you." I'm like, "For what?" He said, "You was just cool." I said, "What am I going to say?" I was like, "You all over social media with this young lady. This your boo, this your this or whatever. What you and I did was before you met her, before I knew who she was." So what I'm going to say? "Yeah, I know he got a mole on his thigh right by the ball with the grape." I'm not going to do that. That's for what? That's so malicious.
She can sure suck a dick now.
Yeah. or like he the bomb. I mean, he blew my back out. I would never do that. But I think it's a certain element of trust that goes with when you around a person, your partner, and then somebody that you've been in the bed with, been intimate with, is there.
Yeah.
Especially, I would say for men, but for both parties.
And that's the whole thing about life. Sometimes unfortunately those things happen, and sometimes it's okay to just never have a person in your life again. It's like, no, but seriously though, like,
wait, just eliminate relationships altogether.
no, I'm saying like, like a friend that you slept with and now you have a girlfriend or whatever the situation might be, and that you want that friend in your life still. It's like, look, sometimes in life we just have to be like, we're not going to see each other again until the day we die. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's like we're not all meant to stay in each other's lives forever.
Oh, not
And I
at
think
all.
that's the beauty of it. It's that there's death to relationships, whether you're alive or dead in real and physically, or if our relationship is dead because of certain circumstances. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like, damn, we could never see like our last time chilling as friends.
And sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that person that you slept with wants to hang that over your head.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to hang it over your head. So it's like, did you tell the guy that you with that I blew that back out?
Never letting
I'm like, sir, first of all, you ain't blow the back out. I mean, I knew you was there, but you ain't blow my back out. Come on now, stop it. You giving that way too much credit. But no, I didn't have that conversation with him. But they almost want the other person to know.
Yeah.
And with a person like that, I can't be around you because you have to be able to protect my good secrets. I think there are good secrets.
Fact.
And you got to be able to protect that. And if every time I see you, be like, yeah, tell him I blew your... Sir, you didn't blow my back out. I put you to sleep. No, you didn't put me to sleep, sir. I had just got off a plane. I was in L.A. for 3 days. I just flew home.
Yeah.
With it, you picked me up from the airport at 6 o'clock. Brought me home. We had the Coney Island breakfast.
Yeah.
The Western omelet with feta cheese. We did that. Ate, had some coffee, and then we had some messy sex, and I fell asleep. You did not put me to sleep. You are not like NyQuil, sir. I did not fall asleep.
I hope
of that.
I hope that when we die and go to heaven, that there's like a stat sheet for sexual experiences, like your skill rating, like how was your stroke, how was your tongue work, like all that shit just went down like while you're up there. Like, let's break it down. How many backs did you really blow out? How many times did you make a girl bust? Probably like 47. Nah, it's like 12, son. Like
So I used to keep a book.
Ooh, me too.
I used to. Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm. Stats and everything.
Yeah. So listen, my friends found out that I kept a book, right? And I had an old spiral notebook. Not the spiral, like the little black and white ones, right. And in that book, I had names. And first name, last initial, and it was a rating. Like, okay, if oral happened, if it didn't happen, how were they? And I had symbols for things. Would you do it again? Were they trash? How did they smell? All of that.
Your memory bank has to be crazy bad for that, or you have to been fucking around a lot.
But I wrote it all down like the next day. So like the next day I would pull it out, and I kept it hid. I would pull it out and put so and so, and then I put the codes and stuff in. So me and my girlfriends one day were just talking mess, and one of them said, "Well, I just keep it in my head." I said, "No, I keep a book." They was like, "You lying." And I went and got the book out. But I had the book. The first time I had sex, I was 18. I had the book from the time I was 18. Mm-hmm. So the pages were like, they was all curled up, and some of them were stuck together. And it wasn't a lot of partners, but it was a lot of details.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and it was like, so what does this mean? And then I'm like, nope. And then it was like, okay, so who is this? Is this so-and-so? I'm like, yeah, I knew it. And I'm like, it wasn't all that.
Do girls get, like, your girlfriends get interested in stuff like that? Like, oh, can I take a ride with that guy? Or like, did they ever do that?
So, the views and opinion discussed on this podcast are not. Yeah, they absolutely. So,
they have to take a ride too.
We'll talk about it, but it's like, no. Like, it may be a guy and he may be attractive, and you tell him, like, remember so and so? They be like, yeah. I'd be like, I slept with him. They was like, for real? I used to want to see with him. I'd be like, it was garbage. They was like, for real? I'd be like, trash.
Oh my God.
So women, we could communicate that, right? And I'm sure, because it's guys that I dated that at one point had dated one of my friends, and I dated him, and I'm like, I don't even like you. I don't even know why we even having this conversation, because I don't like you. So they may mention it, like it may be a guy be like, you know what? I know you slept with him, but I wonder. And they be like, trash. So, oh my goodness, yes. And they'll never tell a man. So we telling, like, right, ladies, we telling, but we communicate that. Or we could be in a room. Let's say we all at a party. Let's say all of us at a party, and a guy walks in, and we could look at our girlfriend. We'll give him the look, nod of the head, this, and that means, yeah, I slept with him. It was all right, right? Men don't even see that, because when you all look at a woman to communicate, you all make noises and grunt and all that stuff. A woman, we could communicate like,
Yeah.
And I just told my girl, yeah, I slept with him and it's trash, or I went on a date with him and it's trash.
Yeah.
Because I think women need to stop lying to men and be honest. But because the male ego is very fragile, it's like a butterfly wing. If you puncture a butterfly's wing, they can't fly anymore. So it's a lot of stuff that women say to men. I think we need to be more considerate of how we communicate with men, because we think because men are men, we could just say anything we want to say to you all, and it doesn't affect you.
Well, you know, women are, to me, very, they work a lot around instinct and truth and perception and integrity, until they're corrupted, obviously, like anybody. But I really believe I love a woman's truth, especially when she's directing it towards me. It's like, you need to make this change. And it's hardly that they're ever lying or being manipulative. It can be the case, rarely, that they're being manipulative, but a lot of times I feel like when a woman is saying something to me, she's telling me the truth. She'll be nice at first to not hurt your feelings, and if you're not getting the message, eventually they pierce it into you. Like, they'll say some crazy shit at a party one day, and it's like, oh, fuck, I gotta work on that. But, you know, I like that. And I think that's where men need to stop being so sensitive. It's like, no, you're actually hearing the truth right now, so you need to take that and adjust to that. Especially if your head game's weak. When my first girlfriend, my head game was weak. It was weak as hell. She told me that the day we broke up. She's like, I'm not gonna lie, like, you don't know how to go down on a woman. And ever since then, I was working, I was studying, research. I'm
You said you was studying.
I was watching.
You was on YouTube and everything.
Lesbian porn all day. I'm like, lesbians know what to do. They know what's happening. There used to be this application that came out, and it was literally designed for women to understand, like, their parts. And it used to be like, if you lick here and lick here and lick here and do this and do this. And I used to be just studying this, like, oh, this is insane. I didn't know all these things. So I'm glad she did that, because my head game right now is phenomenal.
He says phenomenal.
I got receipts. I got women that can vouch for me on this.
Ladies and gentlemen, he got receipts. So let me ask you a question. Do you think you're more open and receptive to constructive criticism because of what you do, or is it the respect that you have for the women that are in your life? Because a lot of men cannot be that transparent. And men, I'm not bashing you, but you have to have a great respect for the women that are around you. So the women that are around you could say, I could tell him that and he won't be offended. Because for the most part, a woman, her only thing when she tells a man certain things is to make you aware and make you a better individual, because we do see things that sometimes you all don't see.
It depends on the man's mindset and life in general, but I think men that are mostly afraid of losing the woman, like if she points out something, it's like, oh, sometimes I don't feel like you're going deep enough. And then the man might go like, maybe I'm not big enough. Maybe this bitch is trying to say that she's had longer dick, so therefore I can never fulfill that. She's gonna go find longer dick. But you know, that all comes down to what I said earlier. You have to be okay with losing people in your life. You have to be okay with that. And so if somebody's being truthful to you, it might scare you, but you need to make adjustments. And if you just can't make those adjustments, if it just never works out, then you just lost that person. What's the fucking big deal? We make such a big deal about losing people.
But we don't want to lose. Nobody wants to. No, but for you to say that, you don't understand how attractive that is, and not in a intimate way, but how that is so mature and so grown to say that in your life you will lose people, and not to death or sickness or anything, but there are people that they say there are people that come into your life for a season or a lifetime or whatever. But to hear you say that is so grown man. You know what I'm saying? It's like
my mom taught me that. My mom, when I was working like 8 years ago, I was working for this guy and he was ripping me the fuck off with how much he was paying me. He was just ripping me the fuck off. And I remember I started hiring people to work for me eventually. And I mean, even working with Nick, the guy who's shooting our productions for us, my mom always told me, she's like, always make sure you pay your people what they deserve. And when she told me that, it made me think, oh, well, I'll lose that person because if I pay them what they need, they're just going to go take off on their own and they're going to start their own career and go do their own thing if I pay them enough. But then I realized, like, wait, that's their life journey. Like, okay, I'm going to lose it and it might hurt me, but what's their entire life journey going to be?
Yeah.
If I try to be territorial about this person, what am I actually doing for their spiritual elements? What am I actually doing for the growth of this person? So even though it's going to hurt me to lose a woman, lose a friend, lose a business partner, what's best for their individual growth? You know, and a lot of people have trouble with that. They want to just keep everything as close to themselves as possible.
But they're insecure.
That's what it is.
And we will go to great lengths to manipulate a situation to hold on to a person
without even knowing it sometimes too.
Yeah, we'll go, I mean, to great lengths. And sometimes I think, you're afraid to lose that person because now you're stuck with, how am I going to replace this person? And sometimes you never replace the person. You find a person that comes in that is just as equipped, but they just may do things differently. But they can still meet the need, but they just move different.
Yes.
But they're still a great person and they do stuff different and all of that. So you have to come to that. And then it says a lot for you. Like, I got to really look at myself. If I'm in a relationship with a guy and he just say, you know what, this not working, this, and this, and I think we would be better friends. I'm like, okay, as the way I may feel initially, I may be hurt. Of course I may be hurt, but I'm not going to go through the series of manipulation like, oh, I'm pregnant, or, oh, the doctor diagnosed me and I'm going to have a foot growing out the top of my head. If I got to do that to keep you, then what's wrong with me that I have to manipulate a person or a situation to keep them in my life? That's the bigger issue. Like, instead of saying, okay, this person was my manager and I paid them well, but they had a better opportunity. So you got to say, okay, God bless you. Go on to your other opportunity. And they leave you with a lot of respect. So even the people that left you in the business sense, they was like, well, you know what? They know that you're always a friend. They know you got a great level of integrity, and they know that you're a good person. And that, for me, trumps everything. No pun intended with the Trump, but it trumps everything. It's like, it means something.
Yeah.
That you're a good person. And when you're a good person, people remember that. People remember, like, you know what, you a great guy. You was a stand-up cat. You did whatever. And sometimes people leave because they think a situation is better and it's not. And they wind up coming back and they looking at you like, hey, you still need so-and-so?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but you okay? Like, I remember early in my career, the guys that did security for me years ago. And I would always tell them, like, we would be at a show and maybe, I don't know, Cedric, Steve Harvey, whoever on the show. And they would be talking to the person that's doing security for them. And I would always tell them, like, listen, if you get a better opportunity, because, you know, I don't have the money that they have, or I'm not in the position that they're in, or I can't say, oh, yeah, I could pay you $100,000 or $150,000 a year. If you get an opportunity, please, you a man, you married, you got kids, got a family, whatever, take the opportunity. They was like, no. I said, and I told them then, you're not being realistic, because your ultimate objective is to retire from your daytime job and to do executive protection or whatever 24 hours a day. I would be crazy to say, no, you can't work with him. I'm paying you this. But yeah, you only working for me maybe twice a month. If you get on salary with them, their life is different. So I think being able to let go is mature.
For sure.
It hurts.
Money is the hardest part for people, obviously, because, you know, Hollywood showed us everything. Hollywood showed us that look what women and men are willing to do to succeed in the entertainment industry, and now they're getting exploited for it. Like, if you have sex with me, if you do this with me, if you let me jack off in front of you, then you're gonna have all these opportunities and things. And then that actor and actress might be like, yo, the chance that this motherfucker is offering me is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
So
if I don't do this,
yeah, so you think.
so they think, right?
Yeah.
But they're so worried. They got bills to pay. They got a family. They got all these things. So
Yeah.
then they're like, man, I gotta go suck this dick right now. Like, whatever the case might be.
But
And it shows you why, with money, why people are so desperate is because they don't believe these opportunities will ever come again. That's
True.
the only that's the time where I come to more like a barely of an understanding of it. I'm like, oh, you have a family to provide for, so I barely understand it, but I get it.
Right.
But when it comes to just general relationships or general friendships or general things, that's where it's like, no, let that person thrive and live. I'm not saying to manipulate people. I'm just saying I get it when it comes to money sometimes. I get why people do, why they do things out, sacrifice parts of themselves to succeed. If you go broke, man, fuck that. Like, being broke is the worst fucking feeling, but you got to walk the earth sometimes. I mean, it's hard to say, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
people are starving, you know? It's like hard to say.
But it's that thing that even if I do this, how in that moment you're not thinking about that. In that moment you thinking, okay, if I do this, this person said I could get this particular, no pun intended, position. And sometimes you got to say, well, how many people have they did this to? Or what goes with that? Because you want to work, even as a comedian, and this is, even as a comedian, and people when they think of entertainment, when they think of comedy, you know, they separate comedy. They say, oh, well, you're not a so-and-so and a so-and-so and a so-and-so. Yeah, but I've worked with them, and I know how they get down, and my life took a different path. And if things had stayed that way, and I still could become them, but if things had stayed that way, I could be them now, but my life took a different path. So I'm still living the life, so I can be the next whoever, right? I think integrity plays a big part in that.
Yes.
Like, even now, it's comedians who will go behind my back, and let's say they find out I'm doing a show with a promoter, and maybe I get some tour dates. There are people that will actually, and they have done it, go behind my back and say, hey, listen, I know that you're hiring Coco. And most promoters, most of them for the most part, will say, well, no, why you even calling me? No, this is some bullshit. Why are you even calling me thinking I'm going to let go of her for you? You already showing me you don't have any integrity, right? So what makes me think that you're going to be committed to me and you doing this to her? But then there are the other ones, the gutter snipes, the slime balls, who will say, well, wait, what you going to do this for, whatever? And they'll hire them, and it all goes bad. So now I know you've hired him because you called me and said, hey, well, we go, and this is the word, we're going in another direction. Okay, no problem. And they hire the other person, and they don't get the results. And then they'll come back to me like, hey, I know I reached out to you about doing these shows in Cleveland, Cincinnati, and whatever, but you know, we put somebody, and they sound pitiful. Yeah, well, you know, we put somebody else on the show, and it didn't work, and they were late, and they did this and did this. What we have to do to get you back is nothing that you could do to get me back, because you already showed me where your commitment was.
Right.
So you made the decision. Roll with that decision, because I always feel like God is going to bring me something better, or something new, or something different. I really believe that. My faith is really strong. So this the person that you pick, roll with him. So now you stuck in that situation because instead of paying me whatever you was going to pay me per show, you paying them half, but you also getting half of the performance that I would give. Right. You going to get, because I'm not going to miss a plane. I'm not going to show up late. I'm going to be at the venue on time. You ain't going to have to scrape me off the bathroom floor because I'm high and I done did all the stuff. I'm going to be where I need to be, do what I need to do, handle my business, and just that. And I'm not saying, I'm not bragging, but that's just who I am.
Yeah.
So that's what you got. That's what you got. You keep that.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know, listen, we went out of town, and then it's the thing. We went out of town with so-and-so, and he disappeared. I'd be like, really? Yeah, and he came back acting crazy. He went and got high. Don't act like you don't know what they did. You know the cocaine effects. Quit acting like you don't know what. Come on,
right.
man. So it's for me, it's just a lot. But what I see initially, it's usually what it is. Because I'm always like in a real spiritual space, and I'm like, and I won't say anything.
Yeah.
But you see it.
Yeah.
You see it.
It all comes down to what you're saying, integrity, right? And just
Yeah.
moving with it. And I think all comedians and entertainers and anybody that's working on anything, as long as you're fully responsible for yourself and you're constantly working on your craft, then there's always going to be an opportunity that comes out of somewhere.
It will.
I want to talk about the opportunities that you built for yourself too, like starting with the start of your career, talking about unfortunately losing your sister,
Oh gosh,
91,
yeah.
and then you hop on stage. What's the experiences like? What's the atmosphere of the comedy scene at that time?
So I started in 91, and I was working full time as a nurse. I had a daughter. My daughter was 6. So I started, I was working during the day as a nurse. And then at night, every open mic, every show that I could get to, everything that I could do, I was there. So I would come home, and I was living with my mother. I said, hey, if I get my daughter ready for get her clothes ready for school and feed her, whatever, I'm going out and do some open mics. She was like, yeah. So I was working during the day, come home, do all the parent mom stuff, and then go out to a club and do an open mic, get home 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and do it all over again. So it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm working towards a goal here. First time I went out of town, Mike Bonner took me out of town, maybe like a year after I've been doing stand up. I opened up for him. He took me to Chicago, and I opened up for him at a club. And I kept going, and I studied the craft, and I read the books, and I was really committed to that. So at one point, I got to the point where I did less nursing and more comedy, and then less and less nursing and more comedy till I got into radio. So I started comedy in 91. I got into radio in 96. And Mason would come, and I would do stuff with the radio station. So they used to do this thing called Ladies Night Out, and they would reach out to me like, hey, it was a state theater then. We got Little Mo or whoever coming, and we need somebody to open up. I'm like, cool, okay. It's paying this, so I go do it, and I would steal the next morning, go back to being a nurse. And Mason would always see me and ask me like, you sure you don't want to do radio permanently? I'm like, no. What time I got to get up? I got to be here at 6 o'clock. I got to be here at 5:30 in the morning. Oh, hell no. But that was in my mind. Spiritually, God had something totally different for me, right? So I finally got the call, and I finally said yes to radio. I started radio September 96, and one of my buddies called me and said, hey, I think the station gonna call you. Because at that time, radio stations were getting away from being that sterile, and they were adding comedians to the show to kind of soften it and make it more engaging.
Right.
So they reached out to me, and I went in, and I didn't know anything about negotiating the contract, nothing. So I reached out to my friend Raymond Lambert, who owned the club called All Jokes Aside. He had one in Chicago and one in downtown Detroit. So I said, Raymond, the station reached out to me. He said, I know. I said, okay. They reached out to me about doing radio. What do I do? He said, well, call my friend. This is a little emotional for me. He said, call my friend Chris, and he'll take care of you. So I said, okay. So he gave me the number, and I called, and I was like, hey, Mr. Chris, Raymond Lambert gave me your number, and he told me to reach out to you, and you would help me negotiate my radio contract. He said, I know, you already called me. So the negotiation went on from September 96 to December of 96. And they finally came up with some numbers, and I got the contract, and I was just looking like, so wait a minute. This is the health insurance, and these are benefits, and this is the vacation time. It was the most money I ever made in my life. And I'm like, okay, fine. So after everything was said and done, I reached back out to Mr. Chris. I said, hey, how much do I owe you? He said, you don't owe me anything. I say, sir, I know how hard you worked to get me to this point. What do I owe you? He said, you don't owe me anything. He said, what I need you to do is whenever you get an opportunity to do something for somebody, do it. I said, okay, fine. He said, no, I need you to do it. Man, I sent that man flowers and candy and plants and everything. So fast forward to maybe like 2000 and I don't know, 5, maybe, whatever. Raymond Lambert did a documentary and it was called The Business of Funny.
Yeah.
And we went to the African American Museum to see it. And I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, so when Chris popped up, I said, wow. It was Chris Gardner, the guy that Will Smith played in The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
That's who had negotiated my contract.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know. I had no clue. So when it popped up and he said, yeah, and if you watch the documentary, he said, yeah, Raymond reached out to me and said he wanted to open up a comedy club. And I said this, and this. And I busted out crying. And everybody looked at me like, what's wrong with you? So afterwards, Raymond did a Q&A and I went and was talking to him. I said, why you didn't tell me that's who that was? He said, well, that made a difference. I said, I think so. He said, that was my friend. You, my friend. You had a need. And I reached out to another one of my friends to help my friend with a need. And we got it taken care of. I never knew that's who that was.
Wow.
And when I tell you, when I think about it, this is probably the comments that I've been when I tell this story. It was so emotional for me because when I read his book and when I watched the movie with all the hell he went through, it was just like, wow, this man didn't have to do that for me. But when I really got into the book and the movie, I'm like, that's who he was though. He was really is really a great person, but it blew me away.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
That's
wow.
insane.
It's still, when I think about it, it's like, that was him. And it was nothing for him because that's what he did. He worked with money, he dealt with money, he dealt with entertainers. So that was nothing for him. But every time I called him, he answered the phone.
Yeah.
And if he didn't answer the phone, if I left a message, he would call me back within an hour. Wow. Okay. Anyway, I'm back.
No, that's
it was
a beautiful story.
it just was telling for me that you don't know who is in your path until you get to that point and you need a person and somebody say, oh yeah, well I know them. Yeah, go ahead and do that. And it's nothing for the person, but for you it's like, wow, like that's the shit.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in a good space now.
No, that's incredible. It sounds like he was like a giver mentality.
Great giver mentality. Great. And when you give, don't keep score. Like if you give and you do stuff, I know people that keep score. Yeah, I remember when I did so and so for you. I'm like,
Right.
you're not gonna get it back. You gonna get it back because people feel pressured to give it back to you to shut your ass up. Like if you got into a situation and you went to somebody and you say, hey, listen, this is what I need, and they give you $5,000 or $10,000, and then everybody that they see, they gotta tell them, yeah, I gave kid $5,000, $10,000. You almost want to give it back to them.
Yes.
But they keep telling people, and I don't think you get that back. I think the person, and I know you don't get it back, I think the person that knows you have a need and they do it in silence, they get that back. And you'll get that back. I follow some people on social media and they do great things in people's lives. And I know why they tape it and show it, just to let people know they're legitimate. And, like they'll set up a GoFundMe or whatever. And that's different. But people that got to tell, I did so-and-so, because I remember her and she was like this. Yeah, and I gave her a couple dollars. And I'm like, why are you telling everybody?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be between you and that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't for me. Well, I get people all the time say, yeah, because, I came to one of your shows and I was heckling you. And if it wasn't for me, I'd be like,
I get that all the time. Like, I get that like crazy. And I always think like, it's kind of like what you're saying. When you're naturally a giver and you're not keeping score, you feel more fulfilled in life. It's just naturally who you are versus a person who's, it's almost like a strategy for them that they're doing it.
It is.
When it's a strategy that you're doing something to help somebody, to benefit yourself somehow, it feels less like good.
Yeah,
it's a less of a good feeling
is.
for sure.
And it's like you're doing something just to feel like you got one up on me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you did it, and if I didn't need it, I wouldn't have asked you. But now you making me regret that I even came to you for help. No, because I remember I bought the tire for your car. You had a flat.
Yeah.
It was a used tire, was $30, and I appreciate what you did. Don't get me wrong, but come on now. How long? I don't like people that don't do that, like dangle stuff over people's head, or I don't.
Yeah, I can never appreciate anything like that. But him doing that for you, especially at that time of need, is humongous.
Amazing.
Like, and I'm sure you're the type of person too. That's why people talk about you so much when they come on the podcast, because they talk about the opportunities that you brought to them. So it's like you're naturally that's naturally in you to do that for other people as well.
It is. It is.
I want to continue from that point of you getting on radio, and what was the experience like for you, and also like who were you getting to run into at that time?
Radio, when I first started in radio, women hated me.
Damn.
They said my voice, I sounded so angry and aggressive, and I got 4 years in stand up because I started 5 years in stand up because I started stand up in 91. So when I got in radio in 96, I had 5 years in stand up, but they didn't connect the dots that Coco the comedian was the same person as Coco the radio personality. But women used to call, be like, Mason, who is that? Her voice sounds so, and eventually, as they followed me, they sort of like, oh, okay, she cool. I went to an event. She did an appearance. I had a chance to meet her. It's different. But when I tell you, I met, oh my God. And I don't know why that's the first name popped in my head, Puff Daddy. But Puff Daddy, Kerry Washington, Rick James.
What the hell was Rick James like?
Oh, he was amazing. Like, he was so warm and engaging, and we talked about music, and he talked about his life and all of that stuff. A lot of people that people say they've had a bad experience with, I didn't have that experience. Met a lot of hip hop artists, T.I., B.O.B., Busta Rhymes,
wow.
Rick Ross. So a lot of experiences, because comedians and rappers and hip hop artists, we're the same. We just tell our story and they rap about it.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. So that's why you see a lot of comedians that have a great relationship with a lot of rappers, because we got the same story. So I got a lot of freestyles that are on YouTube, but I met Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, everybody.
Wow.
I mean, LL Cool J, Russell Simmons,
Jesus.
really, literally everybody that Jermaine Dupri, everybody that you could probably think about. I've met him. Eminem is my guy. I got a platinum record. It's so funny. On Obi Trice's CD Cheers is a song called Hood Rats, and on that song, the unedited version, well, the dirty version,
Explicit,
that's the word. It's a skit in the beginning, and I'm the voice of the crazy woman in the beginning of the skit. So I got a platinum in my living room right now. I got a platinum record from Eminem, Obi, and all of that stuff. So people didn't know. They was like, so you were, and what was the label then? What was the label called then?
Not Aftermath, right?
Nope, it was, I can't think of it, but I got it. Interscope, yeah. Interscope. Great check. It was a great check. Enjoyed doing it, and then I'm in the video Got Some Teeth. So if you see the video Got Some Teeth, I'm in that video.
Did you get to talk to Eminem at all?
Oh, I was in the studio. Like, I knew, so back up. I knew Eminem because it used to be a club on the west side, and still there too, called Ebony Showcase. And on Tuesday nights, the rappers would be there and the comedians would be there. So Marshall would be in the corner selling his cassettes. And I was like, who's that white boy? They'd be like, oh, that's Marshall. He a rapper, and so forth and so on. So it'd be Marshall, Proof, a lot of those cats. I'm like, okay. So moving fast forward, I get in the radio and a lot of things that were happening in the radio, and people don't know this about M. So when I see all the negative stuff that people say about M, I just kind of reserve my comments because he's not the person that people make him out to be. So when I got the call to do the skit, I was in the studio with M. He's a perfectionist. And while we were doing it, like Dr. Dre was sending beats and music and stuff over. So I got to the studio at 1 o'clock. If you pull it up and listen to the skit, it may be a 60-second skit. That skit took from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to probably 9 at night to perfect that skit the way M and Obi wanted it.
Wow.
So M there, and he, he's like, "Nah, Coco, I need you to do this and say this or whatever." And he was so engaged. He was like, "You good? You hungry? You thirsty?" I said, "No, I'm good. I'm good." So after a while, took a break, and then we came back. He was like, "Okay, so I need you to do, when you do this, I need to do this." So all the sound effects and everything they did in the studio. He said, "Okay, so when you do that, I need you to be a little more angry, and I need you to kind of fall back." I said, "Okay." It took literally 8 hours. Wow. But when I heard it, I was like, wow, that's me. That is really, really me. And I was excited. I was excited to be in the studio with him, and he's just a really great person. And like I said, he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people will never know about. So,
wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's I've had some great experiences. Luther Vandross, R. Kelly, Missy Elliott, Genuine,
wow.
Frankie Beverly and Mays, Earth, Wind and Fire. I've met all of those people and had the conversations that, because a lot of times entertainers sometimes have, it's two conversations. It's the entertainer's conversation, and then it's the other conversation that they don't get a chance to have. So to have a real conversation, like Luther Vandross, I asked him, I said, "Do you ever not get the butterflies or that when you get ready to go on stage?" He said, "When you stop getting that, it's time for you either to retire from this business or to take a step back and evaluate what you're doing." Because we were just talking about when you get that, okay, I'm going on stage, I got to use the bathroom, I want to throw up, I want to run. And he said, when you stop getting that, it's just time to evaluate what you're doing. And I think I met him in 2000, because they used to do concerts at Comerica Park. So they would put chairs on the baseball field. So imagine however many people Comerica Park holds, and then putting seats all on the baseball field. So that's what, 20,000 extra seats. So they did concerts there, and it was amazing to be on that stage and literally, and this is so, for me, everybody's heart is beating, and I'm literally can hear it in my chest. I know that sounds like somebody high would say that, but I'm literally like backstage, like, "Okay, Coco, you got 2 minutes." I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, toot, 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 toot. And you hear all the noise and the people talking, yeah, and it sort of starts to go down, like right before you get ready to go on stage. It's like, okay. They were like, "Okay, come on, Coco, you got 60 seconds. Okay, mic is hot, let's go." And all that noise goes completely silent. And then the next thing, you on stage. And it's like, "Hey, what up, though?" Ah. So it's just a real interesting thing. And people say, you look forward to that. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
It drives me. It moves me. And it doesn't matter where I am. Like if I'm doing a show at a church or I'm doing a corporate event, that thing is the thing. I'm like, whew.
Yeah.
And then I tell people, if you're around me, I get kind of crazy right before a show. I'm like, "Listen, don't talk to me. Don't say nothing. And my real friends know. They be like, don't talk to her because she gonna do her thing. And then once I come off stage, I'm like, okay, so what we gonna eat when we leave here? What we going to get? I want some chicken. So I go back. But right before the show, I'm real exact. Let's pray. I don't want to hear a whole bunch of random conversations. I don't want anybody in my space that's not normally in my space, or people that don't understand why I'm being quiet.
Yes.
Because everybody can't understand that experience. And I had to learn that the hard way. I've taken people backstage with me and they on the phone and they talking. I'm like, listen, you got to go downstairs, or you need to wait for me downstairs, or you got to go because that's a distraction. I just wanted to take a picture. Could you say hi to my... No, I can't say hi to your cousin. Wait till I come off stage.
Right.
So it's a process. It's a process.
You're building the right atmosphere for yourself to perform at your best.
You
right?
have to. Athletes do it. You do it.
Everybody does
Yeah,
it.
everybody does it.
My friend Rose he's a big engineer, and he talked about the reason he was one of the most booked engineers wasn't because he was one of the best engineers. It was because he got the best performance out of his artists when they would record with them, because he would set the conditions in the room in such a way, and he would understand an artist in such a way that he would get the best out of him. Just like how you talked about with Eminem. Eminem knew how to make the room and the atmosphere give you your best performance. So when you were saying to me a moment ago, that was me, like that was really me, for me what it means is that he was able to get the best version of you out of you.
He was. And he was very, very kind.
Yeah.
Very, very exact. And I knew that he cared. Like, okay, you good? I'm like, yeah, well, let's go one more time. He said, okay, when you get tired, let me know. We can stop, take a break, get some water, get some food. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Yeah. And I was determined to get it right. If it took me another 8 hours and I had to sleep on the couch or whatever, I was determined in that moment to get that because of their expectations, because they reached out to me. And it was a million people that they could have reached out, but they reached out to me. My name came up on the table and they like, yeah, this our girl, this our homegirl, reach out to her.
Yeah. And
I did it. So when I hear it, or I'll play it on YouTube and I'm listening to the skit and I tell people, I say, that's me. They was like, no, it's not. They said, why your name ain't on it? I said, that's a whole nother thing. Trust me, that's me. They was like, is it? I say, listen to it.
Yeah.
They was like, that is you. She sound crazy. I'm like, that's me.
That's insane. Do you got a moment? I got to use the restroom real quick.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
We're going to take a break.
Quick break. I'll be right back.
Don't rush. We're going to cut the air on while you gone. Oh, you got to go all the way around. You got to go to the front to go.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Take your time. Oh, I'm listening. I'm good. I'm good. Oh, wow. We've been talking for a while. It's 8:45.
An hour 17.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, if the conversation works.
Yeah. And then you gonna do what you do the magic, do all the stuff.
If there's something that doesn't make sense, pull it out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Something like this, nobody want to hear us bullshit. Well, nobody want to hear me bullshit.
Yes, they do. People want to know, because the world has made everything accessible. People want to see everybody in the room now.
It's like everybody's interesting in their own regard. And,
yes.
And now we're steering away from a couple people having to entertain everybody. Right?
Yep. And they were like, so what do you do? Okay, how does that work? Because now they've been able to see the room. At one point, the only way you saw the room was somebody took a picture. Yeah. But now people are like, this is the room. They're like, for real? It looked bigger when we look at it on whatever. So, yeah, it's an interesting animal.
I feel like a lot of people are getting bored with the world because of how much we can see now. I feel like it's so easy to be underwhelmed with things because of how much stuff we are exposed to nowadays.
And I think that's the issue with why people are doing so much more to be seen.
Extra.
Yeah, they're going way over the top. I'm like, so did you just have to twerk at the kids' graduation? Did you? And
in the middle of the mall with your shit hand.
Yes. Did you have to do that? But it also makes me aware of how many people want to be seen. And it's people that I never thought that person needed all that attention. And the person probably never thought they needed all that attention, but once they got it, they was like,
the taste is incredible, right?
yes, it's like, oh, I got that. I like it. I want more of that. I'm like,
It's like crack.
it is. And while the people are that on the inside, the people like us, we're trying to push away from it and only use it for work and to promote what we're doing.
That honestly, that's the It's like
Yes.
it's like it'd be like the equivalent of being like the Candyman, right? Does the Candyman eat sugar all day?
No.
Why would he?
Yo.
He knows the results.
So, and they know that. So the Candyman is reserving itself, and everybody else just want to just overdo the thing, and like, I want to do that. I'm like, no, you don't.
Then they look and their teeth are rotten, and they're like, what Candyman?
Yes,
Why?
and they sick, and and I'm like, cause the Candyman don't eat candy all day. So I tell people that. They was like, I would love to be you. I was like, no, you don't. I said, and you look at the followers on Instagram, and you see that. I said, my Instagram account does not reflect all the people that come up to me when I'm eating, follow me at the airport, literally, and I'll talk about when we come back. Literally,
You know what you feel like that.
you feel like it's sort of like all the stuff.
Like everybody's really watching you.
Everybody, you are under a microscope,
I'm 6'8", so I kind of get that. But like,
and I'm
not
sick.
Like that.
I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
So you get the whole.
Sticking out part.
You sticking out. People want to have conversations. We're gonna talk about that. We was talking about the people that want the overexposure part. Like for me, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to do what you do." I'm like, no, you really got to think about that. They be like, no, I could do it. Listen, I remember I'm at the airport, and way before all the stuff happened, I was always the person that got to the airport a couple hours ahead of time. And I got to the airport, checked in, get to the gate, and I was so early, wasn't even a gate agent at the gate. And I went in the bathroom, used the bathroom. I had some coffee, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And the lady followed me in the bathroom, and she said, Coco, I'm gonna stand right out here and wait till you finish using the bathroom. I'm like, no. Yeah. And she did. And because of the way the world is now, you have to go really deep to have privacy. I remember my mother passed, and people came to the funeral because I talked about it on the radio. I talked about my mother had passed. Everybody was like, why are you still going to work? I said, because that's normal, and if I sit at home, I'm going to think about it. But there were people that came to my mother's funeral, and one of my godmothers was there, and afterwards, it took about a few months. She said, do you know I wanted to stab somebody at your mama's funeral? I said, for what? She said, because they were talking to me. I only came because I thought it would be more celebrities here than that.
Wow.
So your life is just an open book. So when it comes to me and my daughter and my grandson, I've always kind of guarded them and kept them kind of separate from all the BS. But people, they want it till they get it. And then once you get it, you like, oh, okay. We want all the stuff. Like people, there are people like us that are trying to hide and have moments of privacy. And then it's the person that just busts out twerking randomly at the mall. And I'm like, do you really want all that attention? I mean, you want to be known as the mall twerker?
I was when I first started getting some type of like recognition in the city and stuff, which we'd call probably hood fame. I remember like I was getting pissed because I couldn't go to Oakland Mall not because people were surrounding me, but because I'd actually start dressing normal. And I was like, damn, man, I couldn't come in this bitch in my pajamas anymore. Like, I gotta fucking dress nice and shit. Because people want to take pictures with you and you look all goofy, and I'm like, oh fuck. So like, there is a lack of privacy for sure. Like when I go out in public, if I'm with my girlfriend, there's always people like. The thing that kills me now is people pull me, which really kills me. People will pull me like because they're so comfortable.
Yeah.
With rappers, it's like they're surrounded by security. They have a fierce, angry face. With me, I'm like, hey, what's up? And then they'll grab, oh, it's you. And I'm like, motherfucker.
And they want to hug you, and they want to hug your girlfriend. Is this your girlfriend? And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like relax a second here. I wanted to continue on that point of you ran into so many fucking people that you were just listing them off. It was crazy. It's like. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do a part 2.
Oh, my God. But Ice Cube, Ice-T, everybody. Snoop.
Can you just talk about some of those experiences? Which ones stood out to you the most?
Oh, my goodness. it's I think Rick James stood out
Yeah.
because he was Rick James. Tina Marie stood out. Oh, Mary J. Blige.
What was the moment like with Mary J. Blige?
She was just like I was talking to my sister. We was just talking about stuff, and we talking about makeup and perfume and all of that stuff. And then, this is during the commercials. And then when it came back, she had to turn back into Mary J. Hey, I'm here doing a concert or whatever. But the normal part,
Yeah.
Blair Underwood was great. We had great just conversations and laughed. But everybody brought something different. I remember Rick Ross. First time I met Rick Ross before he became Ricky Rose. When I first met him, the studio was downtown in the Penobscot building, and I met him. And the record label was getting ready to go out to dinner, and he was like, "You need to come on, hang out with us. We going out to dinner." And he turned to them and said, "Where we going?" And they said, "We going to Sinbad's." He's like, "Yeah, we're going to Sinbad's. You need to go and hang out because you cool, right?" I said, "Man, I would love to go." I said, "But I'm still working because I had an appearance to do that evening." He's like, "Man," because I made him laugh, and he, laughter is disarming. If somebody can make you laugh, you relax. And then the second time I met him, we were at the station out in Farmington, and he came in and he had the glasses. I'm like, "Them some nice glasses." "Yeah, them glasses cost me." I'm like, "Okay." I got Ricky Rose. That's who I got.
Yeah.
Not a bad person, but you see the transformation.
Yeah, when I interview guests, and I'm sure because you were on the radio, you understand this too. When you're talking to an artist, you're talking to like three different people. You're talking to the artist version of themselves, their real personality, and then the ego that they have to put on for the audience.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So,
yes, you meet all three of those people. Lil Wayne, I
Wow.
met Lil Wayne when he was really young.
Really? Like Hot Boys time?
Yes, when he might have been 12 or 13.
Oh, okay.
They were doing a concert at Cobo. It was Master P and the whole thing, and he was with him. And I'm like, "That's a little kid." And it's like, "That's Lil Wayne." I said, that's I know who it is, but he was with them, but he was a kid, and I was talking to him, and I felt like I was talking to my son. And we were just having a conversation, and I was like, "Okay, be cool, take care of yourself, blah, 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 blah." And he gave me a hug, and I was like, that's to me, it was like a son. And then fast forward, I'm like, "Oh, he grown." So I've met wonderful people, and I've had amazing interviews.
Was after radio when you're working with the Kings of Comedy and everything like that?
Kings of Comedy Kings of Comedy first hit in 2000
Yeah.
at Joe Louis Arena, and the show they did at Joe Louis Arena was amazing. Like, cause that was on, like, certain venues were on my bucket list. So the Fox, and I knew it was coming full circle. I had always looked forward to working with Bernie Mac. So I first met Bernie Mac. He used to do I think it was a Monday night at this club in Chicago called the Cotton Club. So I would go to Chicago to work, and I would do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday in Chicago. But I would also take a Monday off and then catch the train home that Tuesday morning because I wanted to go, because he did like an amateur night. So everybody would come out. He would get singers and musicians and everything. And the thing for me with Bernie Mac was he has so much integrity. And he was just a funny person. He was like an uncle that you didn't know you had until your aunt brought him home and said, "Hey, this is my husband." And he was just so cool. And he used to tell me when I would work with him, I would say, like if I was hosting a show, we did a show up in, I think it was, I want to say Saginaw maybe. And I was like, "Mr. Mac, how you want me to?" He said, "Listen, Bernie." I said, okay. He said, "Just tell him, ladies and gentlemen coming to the stage." He said, "Because all that other shit don't matter." And I'm like, okay. And I would just go on stage, And ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, give it up for Bernie Mac. And I learned the more you say in an introduction, the more the audience builds this level of expectation.
Right.
So when you start with the whole, oh, they did this, and this, because now, especially now with social media, people could do their research. So even before you get there, they've done their research. So yeah, coming to the stage, he did this, and this, and this, and this. So the audience is like, yeah. So you got to come on stage and fly, and you got to do all the extra stuff. There's no build up. You got to just come out there like da. But when it's just coming to the stage, give it up for whatever.
Yeah.
You can kind of slide in and work your way up. So I've learned that. People are like, well, I say, don't tell them all that.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, give it up for Coco. Everything else they'll learn when I start hurling these jokes.
That's true. Like, I think they call it a pop, right? Like when you, the pop that you bring when an artist comes on or a comedian comes on the stage. And like every time I've ever seen a crazy pop where like they're playing the music, they're getting you hyped up. It's always been the worst performances I've ever seen in my life.
I'm like, don't do all of that.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, whatever. It's like when you meet somebody.
Yeah.
If you meet somebody and somebody introduces them, like, oh yeah, this kid, and he got this, and he do this, and do that. Now you at the cookout and everybody watching you like this. There's like, what y'all say he do?
Yeah.
I don't believe it. He don't look like he do that. So what you say you do? So now you're under a microscope instead of saying, oh, this is my friend, kid. Oh, okay. And now they say, why they call you kid or whatever. You get to sort of slide into being. But once they do all that stuff, you can't do that. You ain't regular no more. You might as well just get your chicken and your burger and go sit in the car and enjoy it. Because you can't enjoy the cookout.
What was it like working for the Kings of Comedy? When we talk about that, we're talking about those cats, right? We're talking about Steve, Cedric. We're talking about, obviously, Eddie Murphy's brother, unfortunately, Charlie Murphy was a part of that at one point.
So Charlie Murphy did the Black and Brown tour.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he did that. And then the Kings of Comedy was DL, Steve Harvey.
D.L. Hughley, Eddie Griffin, right?
Nope,
Eddie
Griffin was with the Eddie Griffin was with the
I'm mixing those two
two guys Eddie
up.
Griffin was with the Black and Brown tour.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And the Kings of Comedy was Steve, Bernie, DL, and Cedric.
What? So George Lopez.
George Lopez was the Black and Brown tour.
Oh, okay, so those are different things. Okay, gotcha. Right?
Yep. So George Lopez was with the Black and Brown tour. Eddie Griffin, Charlie Murphy, I think D.L. Hughley, and maybe Cedric. So that was the Black and Brown tour. Was Dave Chappelle? No, Dave Chappelle wasn't on that tour. Can I tell you my Dave Chappelle story?
Yes.
So it's a comedy club in Toronto called Yuck Yucks. And Yuck Yucks do what's called a Nubian night. So the Sunday night is the black night. So anybody that's not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, Caucasian is considered colored. So if you're from Egypt or Ethiopian or Trinidad or the Caribbeans or Jamaica, whatever, you would be on the Nubian nights. So I'm excited. I'm going to Toronto, work at Yuck Yucks, have a ball. They pay you $1 million in Canadian currency. When you trade it in, you got $82. But it's just exciting, right? In the club, and I'm headlining the club. And I was working on the joke that I do where I pull everything out my bra, the bottle, the thing.
bottle and the drinks and everything.
So I've perfected that joke, right? And I'm getting ready to go on stage, and Dave Chappelle walks in. And he was in Toronto working or filming a movie or whatever. And the guy that was hosting came up to me. He was like, "Hey, Coco." I said, "I see him." He said he only want to go up and do a few minutes because the club hold like 300 or 400 people and it's packed. It's like standing room only. And I'm standing there like, okay. He said, no. He said he only going to do about 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes in comedian time is 30 minutes. So I said, okay. So Dave Chappelle goes up and destroys the crowd. I'm talking about people holding the side and they sliding down in their chair, and I'm like, and I'm thinking, it's no way. I gotta follow him, right? okay, what you gonna do? Okay, you could go on stage and tear all your clothes off. No, you can't do that. But you got to follow him. So at this point, I've taken the ice out and given it back to the bartender because the ice is melting. Crazy. And he comes off stage. He did like 30 minutes. He comes off stage. Kenny, that was hosting, goes on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, all the way from Detroit, Michigan, give it up for Coco. And I went on stage, and I literally had a conscious blackout. Like it was an out of body experience. And Dave Chappelle was standing in the back of the club, and he was just nodding his head like, yeah, like okay, yeah. And I'm working because now the audience has had the ultimate. It's like they have multiple orgasms, but now here I come being greedy, and I want to pull one more out of you. I'm getting one more. And when I finished, he was like, "Good job."
Wow.
And I literally, everybody said, "We going to eat. Where you going?" I was out of breath. I said, "I'm going back to the hotel and go to bed." They said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm tired." I mean, I was exhausted. True story. 6 months later, go back to Yuck Yucks. Sitting in my corner, Tommy Davidson walks in. Kenny came up to me. I said, "Kenny, tell me this is not happening to me." He said, "Yeah, it is." I said, "What did he say? He gonna do 15 minutes?" He said he gonna do about 15 minutes. It's one of them artists you just can't do 15 minutes because it's so ripe. It's like your grandmother has cooked your favorite dessert and your favorite meal, and your friends waiting on you outside to go hang out, but you gotta bring a plate if you had to eat it in the car. That's how it was. So I'm like, okay. Tommy Davidson goes on stage and do the same thing Dave Chappelle did. I mean, he ripped the audience. And Tommy Davidson is so animated on stage. And I'm like, this time I'm running up and down the stairs. So the club got stairs that when you walk up the stairs, it leads you out to the thing. And it may be 20 stairs. And I'm walking up them stairs, and I walk up the stairs, and it's freezing outside. Nope, it wasn't cold outside. I walk up the stairs, look around, come back down the stairs, up the stairs, down the stairs. And I finally get downstairs, and Kenny goes on stage and introduces me. And I go on stage, same blackout. I remember taking the mic out the stand and sitting the stand to the side and just going hard in the paint. And Tommy Davidson was in the back. "Yeah, whoa, okay." And I'm like, "Sir." But I learned something in that moment. The moments that you have when you doubt yourself, go do it.
Yeah.
Just, do it. And I did it. And my friends were there, and they was like, "Where we going?" I had confidence, a little more confidence in. I said, "We go eat, we go hang out." "Oh, you not?" One of my friends who was there the first time when Dave Chappelle was there, like, "You not going?" I said, "No, we going to hang out. I'm good." But I learned in that moment, do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it. It wasn't nowhere. Where could I go? I couldn't leave. I'm booked. I can't leave and not get paid. So I'm booked to work. So bring it. Like, come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
Come on, we gonna do this. So I've learned that, and I like it. It's challenging. It's some folks in the business. I'm like, who I gotta follow who?
It sounds like a roller coaster. Like when you're getting in line to go on like the dragster or some crazy roller coaster. And it's like all the fear, even when you're sitting and you're waiting for the ride to just take off. But once you actually get in the rhythm, you're like,
it's great.
Yeah.
And you want to do it again. The crazy part is you do it that one time and you want to do it again. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why do I want to do this? Okay, like the adrenaline is flowing. Like,
Do you still find control even though you're blackout mode? Do you still find control in when you're handling the crowd, or do you not even have focus anymore?
No, you do. You're even more controlled because it's this internal, external thing that's going on. So you got two thoughts. You got the current thought that's in your head, and then the next thought that's downloading.
Wow.
So it's happening in milliseconds. So I got in my head the joke that I'm saying now, and then the other joke that's going to connect the two jokes, like the puzzle pieces. So it's now and it's next. It's now and it's next. This is happening, this the download. This is happening, this the download. And then you may think of something spontaneous that you've never said in that joke, and you say, you know what, I'm going to say this. And you throw it in and it works. You're like, okay, note to self, keep this. And you may not remember it, but you have to go back and sit down and be like, okay, I said this, so I got to keep that, because that and that work together.
Is it hard to slip when you're in the blackout mode, like to throw something out there that doesn't work, or does it not happen because you're in that blackout mode?
No, it does happen.
And how easy is it to recover from it, even though you're in that flow state? You
may throw something out that worked with 15 audiences before, but this particular audience it doesn't connect, and you may say, okay, that don't work, I ain't gonna do that no more, and you just keep going. And sometimes sometimes you say it out loud, like, oh, okay, listen, audience, I ain't gonna do that joke no more, and they'll laugh at that. Or you tell yourself, no, I ain't gonna do that no more, but you make a note to yourself not to do that again. And once you make the note to yourself, now it's another learning experience.
How are you able to take a joke, figure out what parts work, what parts don't work, and assess it afterwards? Did you record your sets, or did you write them down after? Did you just memorize what worked and didn't work, and what to cut down and what to lengthen?
So when I'm really writing, I'll put like words down.
Yeah.
And then when I go on stage, I'll remember the words, and then I'll build around that. And then if it gets the response that I want, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep that. And then sometimes if it doesn't get the response that I want, I'll ask myself, like, why didn't that work? Okay, you really didn't say it with a lot of confidence. You really didn't put the same flavor on it that you put everything else on. So you may want to keep that and just try it on another audience.
Wow.
So it's sort of, you do different things with different audiences. Like, you got a girlfriend now. So what you did with a previous girlfriend that she may have liked, your current girlfriend may not like that.
Right.
So she may say, well, I really don't like flowers. And you was like, you're in your head, you would never say it. Like, well, my last girlfriend really loved flowers.
Did you ever find a time where you were able to just diagnose the audience, figure out what's going on, and just be on a flow where, like, bombing wasn't even a question anymore, or was bombing always going to be a thing?
Well, you think about bombing, but you can't stay in that space, because you'll find yourself creating self-sabotage.
Right.
But you get there early and you assess your audience.
Yeah.
Like, I always tell comedians, get to your show at least a half hour early, so you'll know the age of your audience. Like, I did a show last night in Toledo and got there maybe like 45 minutes early, and I watched the audience and I said, okay, everybody here is like 30 and up.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, it's a lot of women here. It's Mother's Day. Okay. It's some men here. They're older men or whatever. So I immediately started like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to slide this in, and then I'm going to do this. And then when I got on stage, I didn't do any of that.
Wow.
I did something altogether different, but it worked. It worked. You may plan, you plan stuff, but when you actually get there, you're like, this didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something else.
Mike Tyson said something like that. I think he said, like, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Oh, yeah. We all got a plan until you have to implement that plan. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. When I had Cash Doll on here, and I thought everything was going to be way different than how it happened. But like, when I was actually sitting and looking in her eyes, I was like, oh, I'm in the zone, son. Like, I know where I'm going with this. Did
it go that way?
Yeah. It didn't go the way I planned, but it went... It just like you said, it's like I thought about it, but when it was actually happening, everything changed for the better. But it's still good that I thought about it beforehand.
Yeah.
And
you got to meet a part of her that you didn't expect to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the other side and the real life stuff. I watched that interview.
Oh, really?
I loved it. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And you got to meet another side of her. So it's like you said, when you meet an entertainer, it's three people. It's who the public see you as, who you really are. And then it's always like who your friends and family see you as.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they three different people. So you get that. And on stage it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, because you don't have time to second guess. You don't have time.
I was always
think about it.
I go to so many comedy shows, it's like crazy. I go to like at least 6 to 8 main events a year, and then like some undergrounds. Like my friend Paul Elia just dropped a comedy special. He works with Matt Rife out in LA and stuff, and I'm a dick when I watch comedy. Like I'm a dick. I'm like the guy that's like there until you make me laugh. Like, all right, what's up?
I could spot you all in the audience. I can always see you all in the audience. I could see the person in the audience, and they sitting there like, yeah, they gonna have to make me laugh because I ain't gonna laugh at everything, and I ignore you.
Really,
I do, because if I stare at you too long, I'm feeding to your energy. So I look like. It be a man or woman, it may be a couple, and they looking like, she better be real funny because if she don't do so and so. And sometimes those people just have a more analytical mind.
Yeah.
And I'll do my thing and do something, and then I'll hit something. They'll laugh like, huh. And I look at them like, got you.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't focus on that.
I hear some comedians say that they're not focused on anybody but the person that's not laughing. Like they focus on trying to make that person laugh. But your approach is to do the reverse. Don't focus on you, and then if I get you, I get you.
Yeah, if I get you, I get you. And like I said, sometimes I think people are very analytical, and sometimes those are people that come up and say, "You had a great show," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," because in my head I'm thinking I couldn't tell because you did not laugh at all.
Yeah, I think I've seen over 200 comedy shows, and I would say that I've seen Chappelle, Kevin. I've seen all the mainstreams and everything like that. But the comedy show that really blew my mind was Josh Adams.
He's a genius.
I was at Trick's event. It was like some, their cannabis event, whatever the hell. It was so loud. Everybody's laughing and cheering and just going crazy. Music's playing, and then Josh comes on stage, and people are just still talking. Mm-hmm. People are just still chatting amongst each other, and Josh just kept going. Nobody was even looking at him. He just kept going. Then he said something about squirrels fucking, and everybody's like, what? And then he just broke. Everybody shut up. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To this day, I still don't know how he did it. There was so much noise and atmosphere happening. Everybody shut up and just looked at him, and then we were just on Josh for the rest of the night.
Absolutely. Because you got to keep going.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. And then in those settings is if I get 3 people, because we're nosy people are nosy. So if I'm doing something and it's kind of loud and I get 3 people to focus their attention, now it's 3 more people that's watching them watch me. And then it's 4 or 5 more people that's watching them watch me. And eventually you got the whole room. Or you just say something like you said, and people are like, what did she say? And you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. And it shifts because it's funny. Comedians, sometimes we have to prove ourselves. We have to say, okay, a singer don't have to prove themselves. A singer come out, and no diss singers, they come out and they hit a high note or they do something, and everybody like, oh my gosh, it's so-and-so. Comedians, we got to go in. And when I'm on stage doing comedy, I'm dealing with, okay, this couple may have had a fight on their way to the show. Okay, this couple just found out that they were pregnant. Okay, this couple is dealing with this, and everybody's there dealing with something. So I got to make all these different scenarios feel comfortable enough to laugh.
Yeah.
With music, it's a little different because people come to relax and engage. With comedy, you either get one of few people. You get the person that, she better not talk about me. She better not say nothing about me because I'm going to do this. Or you get the person that's super analytical that's watching you. Or you get the person that's going to laugh and have a good time. Yeah. So you get those people that's like, you better make me laugh. Right. Or the person that's like, she okay.
Yeah.
Josh, I love Josh. If I'm working, and this is the truth, Josh is one of those comics that if I'm working with him and I gotta follow him, he gonna make me work. Mm-hmm. He's going to make me put that work in. Yeah. And I like that. I like that. Like, okay. They be like, yeah, Coco, you closing the show and then you going right after Josh. I said, what? It's certain comics that make me put that work in. And I like that because iron sharpens iron. So you just got to keep going. I'm like, I got to follow who? Oh, okay.
Man. No, it's a beautiful outlook onto it. It's a little bit on the competitive edge, but not towards that person exactly, but just to make sure that you ramp it up, make sure the audience is continuing to have a good time.
They got to.
You know,
it's like running track and field. It's like when you run a relay and you run it and you got a baton. So the thing is, and it's funny, I used to do track and field. I threw the shot put in the discus in high school, but I used to watch the sprinters. When you pass the baton, you can never look around. So you pass the baton, and the weight of that person getting the baton is the thing that you run. So the person pass you baton, you can't, because if you turn around, you done lost seconds in this race. So you look for the baton, and you like, okay, I got it. You dropped it. I feel the weight of the baton. I'm starting. I'm ready. And when you put it in my hand, I got it. I'm taking off. So I'm running, grabbing the baton, feeling the weight of the baton, and taking off. So all those things are going on in our head at the same time. Like, give me the baton, I got it, and let's go.
Mike Epps recently opened up a comedy club. One mic down here. Did
That's
you get a
my
chance?
spot.
You're flaring it up over there.
I do. I got a show there. If you go to the website, One Mic Detroit, I do a show there called Coco's Cabaret, where we started off with 50 entertainers. We had singers, and we had poets, and we had comedians, and now we're down to 6 entertainers. And it's called Coco's Cabaret. I host it, but we have celebrity judges that judge it, and then we have mentors. Like for the singers and the rappers, it's a young lady named Katrina Storm that's coaching them and mentoring them. Then Melvin Bender, Mailman, is working with the comics, and Melanie Hearn and D Jones. So you get the whole, you get the lessons. So for the entertainers, they videotaping their stuff. They help them get bios together, because a lot of entertainers don't have bios that they could send off to people. You need an electronic press kit so you could send off and get work. But it's Coco's Cabaret, and my next show is May the 21st. Is this May? May the 21st. So it's next Tuesday.
Did you get to talk to Mike?
Come on down. I've talked to Mike. I love Mike Epps.
What was the conversation like with him starting off this club and you being a part of it?
He knew Detroit was his city. Like, he knew Detroit was a city, and he'll tell you he went to Job Corps here. So when the club opened up, I was there, and I've done some stuff. I've done a show there. I did the gala when he opened up and had the Whispers there. I did that. I got some shows coming up where I've opened up for singers and stuff like that. So it's good because you got comedy in the city and downtown, and then you got Punchline, which is in Southfield, and then you got other places where you can go. I think comedy is so sought after that to have multiple places to go and work and get multiple checks and just work on your craft in front of multiple audiences, I think is a great thing.
For sure.
And because I knew Mike before the club, actually we taped Def Jam together when we were out in LA, but I knew him, and great guy, worked with him before, and all of that. It was like, yeah, come on to Detroit.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about, your experience at Def Jam too. Could you walk us through that experience?
I thought we were going to tape Def Jam in New York. And the reason we wound up in LA was because they were trying to squash the East Coast, West Coast rap beef, if you will. So Def Jam had opened the office, and they started working the office on the West Coast. So I get the call. I had auditioned for Def Jam like 4 or 5 times, and I finally did the audition, and I finally got the call, and I went, and it was an experience. Put us up in a great hotel, met some wonderful, wonderful people, and things just started happening. It's funny because when I went to do the show, the day that I went to do the show, they had given us a list of items that we couldn't wear. And I had a shirt, and they said no white shirts. Well, I'm like, okay, well, this shirt is kind of off-white, maybe tan, but I couldn't wear it. So the wardrobe, the young lady was over wardrobe. She said, well, I'll go get you a shirt. I said, you sure you can shop for me? She said, ma'am, this is what I do. She said, I'll be back. So she went and got me the shirt that I had on. And when I went out on stage, because I saw everybody that weekend. Like I saw Suge Knight that weekend and LL Cool J and TLC. Everybody that you can think about was in LA. And they were at the theater for Def Jam, Terrence Howard, everybody that you could say, oh, so-and-so here. Everybody was there for comedy because comedy is a universal connection.
For sure.
So I get situated and I said, okay. Now, I had done that same joke on Comic Book with the ice and everything.
Yeah.
But it hit different on Def Jam.
Is that the one they recorded that went viral?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a super funny clip.
So I'm getting ready to go on stage, and they took my ice and put it in a cooler so it wouldn't melt. So that was the last thing that I put in, and they said, okay, Coco, you ready? I'm like, okay. I went on stage and I started doing the joke, and in my head I'm like, I'm counting in my head because I had everything paced out. So when I pulled the bottle out, the audience erupted. And I'm talking about they were hitting on the stage because the stage was like a T. They was hitting on the stage with my feet were vibrating on the stage. And when I finished, and I didn't think about it till I had the conversation. I got a standing ovation. I literally could have walked off stage and said, thank y'all, good night. But with the standing ovation, I topped the standing ovation by keeping going and finishing my set.
Wow.
So I set the stuff to the side and I still finished my set. And when I finished and I went back, everybody was in the hallway. Russell Simmons, everybody. And they were telling me, they said, you could have just said thank you, good night when you got the standing ovation. I said, I could have, couldn't I? They was like, you kept going. Like, what do you want beyond a standing ovation? And I was like, I didn't think about that. But the rest of that day and the next day until I got ready to leave LA, everywhere I went, I ran into everybody. The Brat and Warren G. I ran into everybody.
Fucking Warren G.
And I'm out. So I went to get something to eat and I'm in the restaurant and I'm trying to get in the restaurant. It's a long line at the restaurant and I'm trying to get in the restaurant. They was like, oh no, let her in. Did y'all see her on Def Jam? Just do the tape. And they was like, yeah. So I didn't even know all these people were there. Yeah. I knew it was a lot, but I didn't know. They was like, yeah, come on in. So I go in, order my food. They was like, no, your money ain't no good here. They was like, you don't understand what you did. And at the time, I was still riding the high of what I did, and I hadn't processed it. And later on, when I got to the hotel and I got in the bed, I was like, I had a great view of LA, by the way, and I'm like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Even now, and that was 1996, even now, that skit has got at least 1 billion views.
Oh, yeah.
And people say, how do you know? I said, I could add. I could add. It's gotten over 1 billion views, and I've seen people try to emulate the thing, and I've seen people do it and all of that. But for me, I'm like, you did that. I was, man, listen, it's crazy.
Yeah, that every time I watch that clip, it's still every time you pull out the bottle, it is something. It just erupts. Would you say that's your most memorable moment in your entire career, or do you think there's something that tops that?
I think that's one of them.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely one of those moments. Getting the opportunity to work with Dick Gregory was another one of those moments. Just like different stuff. Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I opened up for Aretha Franklin at Pine Knob and Bananas. Get the call. Hey, and they were so kind. Hey, listen, what you doing Saturday? I'm like, Nothing. They said, okay, we need you to open up for Aretha Franklin. I said, who? Aretha Franklin. I said, okay, what I need to do? They said, okay, we'll call you back tomorrow with the details. I immediately, like, exhausted. I think I had like $218.37 in my checking account. I went and got an outfit and everything. I called my cousin like, hey, I need you to go to Pine Isle with me this weekend. She's like, that's too far. I said, I'm opening for Aretha Franklin. She said, okay, what time? I need to be at your house. Man, when I tell you, when I got there and I got in my dressing room and I processed I said, you're opening for Aretha Franklin.
Insane.
And when I got ready to go on stage and I'm standing there and I walked on stage and just looking at the audience at Pine Knob, I'm thinking, because I want to pass out. I want to just lay on the floor and just fall out, lay on the floor, and then just get up and leave.
Yeah.
I did my thing. I had a ball. And I went back and I just stood there. And when she came out and started performing, I was like, wow. And I knew some of her musicians and I knew some of her background singers, but that moment was like, wow.
It's incredible.
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 Working with Charlie Wilson and Frankie Beverly and Mays, just everybody. Jill Scott, everybody that I worked for has been amazing.
Yeah, it's so much history. It's like incredible. I mean, it sounds like you've literally. It sounds like his story hasn't been heard enough. Like it sounds like this hasn't been tapped into enough, and there's so much to dive into.
It is. It's a lot.
Are you gonna promise me that you're gonna come back for a second episode?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, you promise?
I'm gonna come back, and when I come back, we're gonna talk about dating and relationships.
Yeah, we'll make the second one now that we got everybody the reintroduction. The second one, we're gonna break into your thoughts of current times and what's happening in the world.
And how I used to want to be a thought.
Well, it's still time for it.
Hell no. Listen, if you are not a thought by a certain age, you are now a thought at that age. If you have not been a thought, you a thought.
Yeah.
So I am, like I said, I'm a great grandmother. I got a 4-month-old great grandson. My grandson and his wife live in Colorado Springs, so that thoughting is over for me. What I'm gonna do? I got a knee that's kind of suspect and all that, and I can see myself twerking in the club, and then my knee lock out, and now the bouncer's got to drag me to a chair and sit me down. No, I ain't finna do that. Just let me keep telling jokes and keep being amazing and all of that. I want to thank you for having me on the show.
No, seriously, it's an honor having you on. I was trying to do this for so long when everybody kept telling me Coco. You need to get her on immediately, and Kool-Aid was another person that people always talked about, which I know we didn't get to go over him, but it was another person that I know you probably have deep, rich history. So I want to talk about that the next time we get on here too.
Please, can we talk about Kool-Aid on the next show?
Yeah,
and going on a road trip with him.
Yes,
and we're gonna talk about
one
that.
thing. Before another reason why it's such an honor to have you on, and not only because of what you've done for the comedy scene in Detroit and just who you are as a person, but I think a lot of comedians in Detroit are trying to figure something out, and I think it's very difficult for Detroit comedians. I know every time I have a Detroit comedian on here, they always talk about the trials and tribulations and the stress factors of it.
But they gotta listen, and I don't want to interrupt you. Listen, comedians, listen. And I'm saying this from a place of, I got some big ones, right? I'm right here. You see me at the club. You see me everywhere. All you got to do is ask. I think some of you all need to step outside of your cockiness that you know it all. I think you need to step outside of feeling that you have to impress another comedian. I think you need to step outside, and this is for the female comics too. I think you need to step outside and learn the nuances of what the hell you are doing. Some of you are so quick to say, hey, you're a comedian. You don't even know the dynamics of what that looks like. You don't even understand what being a comedian looks like. But you just say, hey, I'm a comedian. Coco, I'm a comedian. I'm like, how long you been doing comedy? Oh, I've been doing comedy 4 months. You're not a comedian yet. If you're not consistently doing your thing, if being a comedian is not the thing that puts you to sleep and the thing that when you wake up in the morning, you fiending to get on the stage, it ain't your gift. If you are not thinking about this thing all the time and how I can get better and greater and what I have to learn and get into your shows, and I posted this on Facebook, get to your shows. If your show started at 8, get your ass there by 7:15, 7:30. I know we all got vices, but the promoter don't need to know that you smoked all the weed and drunk all the liquor. Don't show up to do a show and you got a whole entourage of people with you. All you need is one person that's a shooter. Show up, handle your business, and do what you're supposed to do and learn your craft. Quit giving your gift to everybody. You passing your gift off to everybody. You want a person that's not even working to tell you that you had a great set. Do you think you had a great set? When I don't have a good set on stage, I know it. And I go inside of myself and say, okay, what can I do to tweak this? I am available. You don't talk to me. Some of y'all talk to me and some of y'all act like you shy and all that stuff like that. But here's the other part. So when I do this seminar and I charge you $250, $300 to come and we do a master's class on comedy, then you all be like, why is she charging us $300? Because right now you could get this wealth of knowledge for free. You listening. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go back. Come on. What?
That was all I wanted to
That
ask.
was it? Yeah.
That was it.
Come on, quit complaining. Quit belly aching. I can't get no work. You can't get no work because you're not working.
Ooh.
That's why you can't get no work. Female comics, you know why it's hard for you all to get work? Because yo jokes got to be more than I got a good pussy, I got a wet pussy, I can suck a good dick, I'm bisexual. Who cares? That's a given. What are you beyond that? What are you beyond the sex part? Okay, that's cool. But what you got to talk about that got some substance and some meat? If you don't have nothing to talk about, stay off the stage.
Facts.
You trying to be too fabulous. Listen, take them dark ass glasses off on stage. Don't nobody know who you are. Take the glasses off so we can see your face. Show up on time, please.
Yes.
Get there, handle your business. Please.
Take it seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be serious about what you're doing. You want the title. You ain't even put the 90 days in. Come on, y'all bullshitting. Y'all disrespecting the craft. I got blood, sweat, tears, broken relationships, all kind of shit on this. I'm not gonna let y'all disrespect this.
Facts.
Okay, I'm back. All right.
No, that was beautiful. Beautifully said, and that's why.
So play this back when they come
Yeah.
and be talking shit.
That's what I want to do. Again, the infrastructure is getting a little stronger with these new what's it called? What the hell's the name for them?
The clubs.
Clubs. Yeah, new clubs.
Yeah.
You
But you want to get in the. So here's the thing: you all want to get into the new clubs and work, but it's a process.
Right.
And if you can't get in the new club, go to another club and work.
Yeah.
Be able to do more than one thing. I love going on stage and everybody in the audience look like me. But guess what? I love going on stage and everybody in the audience don't look like me. I love going on stage and doing a corporate event and that check just sounds so different in that envelope. Y'all understand? Be able to do church shows and be more able to do more than one thing. That's like a barber and he only could do one haircut. It's a high top fade.
Yeah.
Be able to do more than one thing.
And I think if anything you said scares anybody that's listening, then they're not meant for it at the end of the day.
Yeah, listen, this ain't for the weak. If it ain't for the faint. You got your mama and your aunties and cousins coming up to me talking about, you know my people, and I don't.
Yeah.
And get a name that as you get older in comedy, your name will get older with you. You out here calling yourself Maple Syrup and you 60. Sit your goofy ass down somewhere. That's all. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, for sure. Coco, like I said, it was an honor to have you on. I know
Thank you.
We're going to have you back on again and break into this funny stuff that we just
got
into.
And we're going to call it that, the funny stuff.
Yes.
I like that.
Beautiful.
You going to remember that? You going to remember that?
I remember it. I'm going to watch this after we're done.
Okay.
We're at Parallel Sound Studio. High Low Visuals is in the shooting these productions. We're out. Peace.